Hi Yogi, welcome to Yoga with Alina. And today we have another tutorial, another arm balance, because I know you love those. And this is going to be Koundinyasana II, also known as flying splits. Something that a lot of people are trying to get into, and I'll share with you 2 ways to set it up today and some tricks how you will be able to get into this pose safely and hopefully soon enough in your practice. Let's look at it on the mat. All right, so as always, I'm on the mat with Tay, who's going to show us this absolutely amazing arm balance. And while we're setting it up, I'm just going to remind you to watch the tutorial that helps with all arm balances, where I talk about how to set them up, because setting up the arm position and the basics of the arm balances are always the same, and they were covered in that tutorial. So make sure that you watch that one before you start getting into any others. And specifically into Koundinyasana, let's do it. Let's get into that one. So how do you like to set it up actually? From downward face? Okay. So there are 2 ways to set it up, and from downward facing dog is one of the ways. And I kind of understand, I was expecting you to say it, because this is the way that is a little bit easier to set up when you're working strength. So when your body is strong, this is a little bit easier to set up. Let's do it. There we go. We're getting into Koundinyasana finally. Good, and then straighten the left leg. There you go. Perfect. This is the pose that we're working with today. And can you still hold it? You're good? Okay. So as you can see, the setup is just the same with every single arm balance. You're in your chaturanga arms, which is 90-degree angle in your elbows. Your elbows are stacked over the wrist. The shoulders are going forward, and there's a lot of weight in the fingertips, because fingertips are your brakes. Okay, relax. Good. And when you're setting it up, one thing that a lot of people kind of misunderstand about this pose, they're trying to jump. And if you know me, you know that I'm very much against jumping in any arm balances, and this is not an exception. We really want to lean forward. Now, when you're trying to work on this pose, I want you to forget about the part where you lift the back leg off the ground. It's not about that. The pose consists of so much more than lifting that leg off the ground. The leg off the ground is just the last little bit that's gonna create a beautiful pose for your Instagram, but that's pretty much it. The rest goes much deeper. So let's do it again, and let's do it very, very slowly. I want you to keep the back foot on the floor for as long as possible. And you don't have to extend the other leg as well. Keep it bent. Whenever you're keeping the leg bent, it's just a little bit easier to hold, because your legs are very, very, it has strong muscles, they're very heavy, so whenever you extend the legs, the longer the legs, the harder it is to hold. This is why Bakasana, crow pose, and all the arm balances with legs bent are much easier to hold for us. Just a little side note for all of you guys. So yeah, you don't have to extend the leg, but keep the back foot down on the ground, and I'm gonna coach you into lifting it up eventually, okay? Go for it. Good, stay here. So you're going to start leaning forward, keeping the toes down on the ground. Good. And the only reason we're gonna lift the back foot off the floor right now is when you're gonna simply point the toes. So you're not really pushing up, you're just leaning forward and pointing the toes. Yep, point the toes. And as you point the toes, see if you can lift the foot off the ground. There you go. Flex the foot again. Flex the foot. Good, and then point the toes. That's it. Flex the foot. Good, and point the toes. There you go. That is something that I want you to work on when you're working on your Koundinyasana. Do it again. That's it, and then point the toes. That's the intention, right? Okay, relax. How did that feel? That's really good, right? So you're just not, yeah, it is a workout. And yeah, I know, I'm a Nazi in that way. But that's how you do it. You're not jumping. You're pulling yourself forward, right? You're kind of pulling yourself as far forward as possible, and you're feeling that lightness in the back foot. And that moment, you're not jumping, you're not pushing off the ground, you're just pointing the toes, and that's all that happens. That's all you need to lift the foot off the ground. That's the tiny little difference. The rest has already happened, right? You're not feeling any different when the foot is off the ground, really. It's just that it just looks different. That's it. The rest of the pose has already happened while the foot was still on the ground. And I really want you to try it if you're working on this pose. All right, let's set it up again. And I'm just going to show something from the front as well. And then we'll talk about one more way to get into this pose. We'll see how you like it. I don't think you will. All right, get into the pose. Good, hold it here. Nope, hold it here. Yep. Put the knee on top of the elbow, good. And then lift the shoulders up a little bit, there you go, and pull yourself forward. That's it. Keep looking forward, look forward. So I always say it in my practices, wherever you're looking is where the chest is going. So you really want to look forward, and you want to keep the shoulders kind of lifted. So I'm holding your shoulder up right now, but hold on a second, hold on. Let's put it here, there you go. How does that feel? Good. So at least the height of the block, and even better, if the shoulder is going to be a little higher up, can you lift it up? Lift it up. There you go. This is where ideally I want his shoulder to be. I want this to become a 90-degree angle again, so the block would probably go like this. There you go. That's the height of the block. So you don't want to go too far down. Good, relax. Just let it go. And by the way, even though your foot was down on the floor, right, you felt it a lot. It was a very difficult pose to hold because it's already a pose, really. It's a lot of upper body, and it's really a lot about how you set it up, right? So that pulling forward, because when you start going down, you're going down, and yes, the back leg, it's much easier to lift it up, but it's really not the pose. And if you look at it from the side or from the picture, you'll see that it looks different. It doesn't look that way. And I always think about it, because when I first started, I was doing different pictures. I'm like, why they don't look like the pictures on Instagram of these yogis that I follow? What is wrong with that? And this is why, because the intention is different. What goes inside the pose is what makes the outcome of the pose eventually how it looks, but it's not about how it looks. Hopefully I'm making sense right now. I'm really hoping for that one. Yes, it's about the intention behind it. All right. And let's set it up in a different way. So I want you to I told you from the very beginning, there are two ways to set it up. And the first way is from your downward facing dog. And it is a little bit better for people who are on the stronger side. Why? Because we have that space when we put the knee on top of the elbow, right? And we're going from the top. So we're really using the strength. We're dumping the strength, like we're dumping the body on top of the arms. There's a different way to set it up. Go into lizard lunge right now. Have you done that one? No? Okay. Go into your lizard lunge. Good. And you can just relax in the lizard lunge for a little bit. And then bring the left, you can open up the hips. And then from there, you're going to bring your left shoulder underneath your left knee. Good. Lift yourself on the hands as well, because you're setting up for your arm balance anyways. And bring this hand outside the foot. Good. And you're going to heel toe the foot in a little bit. There you go. Now you're going to lift the back knee off the ground and start heel toeing this foot all the way out. So you're basically already in the pose, right? Good. Lean forward. Lean forward. Look forward. There you go. And pull forward. That's it. That's it. That's so beautiful, by the way. Good. Lower down. Let it go. That is very different. It gets you in a little bit more aligned pose, actually. But it is in my opinion, it's actually much harder to set up. And you need a lot of flexibility for it, and you need to open up your hips for that beforehand so much more. And being on the stronger side, so I'm stronger than flexible. And for me, it's much easier to set up from the downward facing dog. but this creates a way more aligned posture. So if you're working on your Koundinyasana II, then definitely give it a try and see how it works for you, because you will feel different in that one for sure. And yeah, just pick and choose. You can do either one and just play around with that. One last thing before I wrap this tutorial up, a lot of people ask if it's okay to use the second elbow underneath the hip and underneath the body. Technically, in the pose by the book, we're not using it. We're only using one arm. But when you're still working on it, when you're just trying to figure out the pose for yourself, I always say go for it. Because why not? Help yourself. Yeah, you do. I do it. Honestly, I do it, especially if I'm teaching it in class and if I'm showing it and I'm talking at the same time, I'm going to do it. I'm going to help myself. If it's for my practice and I decide that I'm working on Koundinyasana today, I'm like, okay, this is the pose that I'm really, and obviously I'm going to try to do it by the book. But if it's something that you're just setting up for yourself, if that's something that you're starting to try out, definitely help yourself with the second elbow and don't feel bad about it. Totally fine. All right, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you'll have fun practicing this pose. I personally love it, and hopefully that translated in this tutorial. Thank you so much for staying with me for this video, and I'll see you back soon. Namaste, Yogi.